Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Classic Quest podcast. It is episode 33. It's your boy HSR.
It's your boy Chris Chrome.
And it's your lady friend Bonnie.
And Chris, why don't you tell us what album we are reviewing today?
Well, holding for this week's Classic Quest album, we decided to go with Blu Exile's first album, Below the Heavens.
Mm-hmm.
So this one was by request by a few of you, and there's a couple of you.
Wait, there's like a longer version of the title name.
Yeah, I
had
it.
there?
Yeah, it's
my
Below the
bad.
Heavens, ... in hell happy with your new imaginary friend.
Yeah. So like we said, this one's by request. We actually reviewed the new one that came out, which might be old music and was confusing because there wasn't a ton of information before the review.
Right.
I did read Blu's wiki page. Looked at that a bit.
Yeah.
He's from the West, as I understand it.
L.A.
And
Although he draws a lot on like East Coast rappers.
absolutely, that is present. And anyway, him and Exile ended up linking up because of stuff happening, and this happened. But what I found interesting is he ended up working on multiple projects, and at the time, all of them got leaked online and kind of helped him get a boost of everything. So I don't know. To me, that was just interesting. Like, I couldn't imagine the feeling like that. You have 3 completed projects. You're trying to work out when to release them, and then everything just gets put out there against your volition.
Sometimes the decision is just made for you.
Anyway.
Yeah,
So,
that's not always the greatest thing.
No.
I have to say, though, that compared to the other album, this one is a much bigger treat. I still don't know very much about them, but I really dug the chemistry that they display.
Well, Exile is just like the producer,
Yeah.
and Blu does all the vocals.
He's like the rapper, and it's kind of like an Eric B. and Rakim link up in the sense of their relationship.
Well, and I think that he also like draws on them for like some inspiration as well.
Oh, definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
Like, you get the sense, even before we talk about any of the specifics, that Blu is like a hip-hop head, like a hip-hop artist for the hip-hop head. Like, he is for the advanced listener, and the casual guy might have some trouble wrapping his head around Blu.
Well, I mean, it's a bit more soulful, like this album. Like, there's more to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's not just hip hop. Like, I think that there's like different genres
he
mixed
does
in.
touch upon different genres. I felt a lot of like there's funk, there's soul, there's
See,
like
to me,
Jazz.
a little bit
at
of jazz.
the end of the day, that still felt really New York hip-hop.
Yeah.
And
Right.
Which was why when you find out he's from Cali, I was like, oh, man, I'm not that great at the categorization thing yet, maybe. But, like, the way he rhymes is just what I mean.
Well, I think that he sees life differently than like, you know, like the way rappers are coming out of LA.
But-
like they're more
Like, his
like,
technique...
more gangster.
His technique is a
Yes.
lot more on point with something like the Wu-Tang Clan's, like, proficiency. Like, he studies the art form to the point where he chooses the right words the whole way through, etc. I mean, we can get into it, but this guy is not for the newbie hip-hop head is all I'm trying to say, because
Oh,
he's dense
absolutely.
as fuck, and it takes a minute to
Yeah.
wrap your head around, like, any one of these songs, which was truly a treat. I don't know. Did any of you guys hear about him beforehand?
Except for the album we reviewed on Headspace.
Yeah.
No, like I've never even heard of him. I've never even known about Exile.
But I can tell you one
And if you
thing.
haven't either, you're about to learn something.
Yeah, if you clicked on this review and you didn't know who this album was, that's so cool, and we appreciate that.
Yes, welcome.
And I love the idea of being below the heavens, right? Even though there's the longer album title, just even the shorter one of Below the Heavens, it's just something you think about. It's like you can see the better place above you, and you just know that the world you're in is whatever, but there is something better, and it's such a hopeful and inspirational title. Like, I've thought about it a lot because it keeps popping up in the comments over the last while.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And the album cover, man, you just want to hang out with this guy. He's got this bright smile. He's just staring up.
He's
It's
just smiling
blue,
and he's
it's
looking
peaceful.
up
And he just looks like one of the happiest rappers I've ever seen on this album cover. And not like fake happy or anything, but like he's found the joy in his soul happy. Like, you want that happiness because that's the secret. Like, he could write a book on that happiness and make some money. Just that's what I felt from that album cover. I never get that kind of like joy from it.
Yeah.
Everybody's always so harsh or cold or
They've
whatever.
got guns
cool.
and chains and like.
Or like even the politics guys, they're all like serious and or they're
It's very,
artistic,
like, extreme
or they're
to their
cocky.
point that they're trying to make.
When was the last time you saw that kind of a smile on an album cover? Is all I'm trying to say.
Wiz Khalifa's mixtape, Rolling Papers 1.
Sure.
Wow.
I guess Wiz is
Well, like
Wiz smiles.
Wiz is always kind of happy. I don't know if it's Rolling Papers 1 or is it Burnt Out Smoke
Whatever.
After Rolling or whatever.
Okay,
but
whatever.
there's like photos of him smiling and having a good old time.
Look,
so.
all I'm saying
Good.
is that.
Oh,
this-
and Meek Mill
Sure.
when he does the collage.
Okay,
Oh.
sure. This is a great album cover in terms of making me actually want to hear the music inside of it, which is rare because normally I couldn't care less about the album cover.
That's true.
Fair enough. I like the fact that it's very, like we said, peaceful, welcoming a little bit. The album cover makes you want to listen to it because I feel like it's very welcoming. I feel like when you look at it, you're like, oh, like what does he have to show? He doesn't seem hard, but he doesn't seem like he's a pushover either. But he also seems like he's been through something, but he also knows how to be happy. So
I think he just has an intoxicating smile.
I think he just works to like make music and just wants to be happy and just is trying to push past like, you know, where he maybe came from and stuff like that.
It's also a 2007 album,
Yeah.
which places it pretty recent on our list for this classic album show. And I don't know. Do you guys have more on this?
Nope, let's get
hop
into
right
it.
My world is ...
His name out from the bleachers like they proud of him. A product of a God-fearing pastor who was free.
Like, you gotta understand, Bonnie, I'm sorry, you weren't on the other review, but I feel like this is not even the same guy that we reviewed yesterday for the
I got
quality
that.
upgrade
Okay.
on this intro. Like,
yeah.
like I get now, just off this intro, why so many people requested this, especially with all the lyrical shit we've covered, right?
Interesting.
Because this guy, in 2007, dropped something that, first of all, could have come out in 1995 in terms of the way it sounds.
Fair enough.
But it's real and shit, right? I mean, this track introduces Blue to us. So,
Well,
you're-
Blue's
Like, people are
world,
still, like- Promoters are still like saying his name wrong or spelling it
yeah,
wrong.
but this whole
and-
track's about him.
right.
But he adds like that Blue in the beat to make it kind of quirky. But this
It was
is
Joni Mitchell, no?
maybe. I
think that's what it
didn't
was.
check it up. But like the fact is, as an intro track to this album, like the first thing you hear, he's like, "What up? My name is," not like Eminem, but in a different way.
Basically.
And he's fucking mad lyrical, right? 'Cause
Well, this
he-
is like a taking. He's taking from Nas in this one. Like, my world is this, and like that's what he's saying.
right.
Well, that's actually
I think-
a loop from another track as well.
Anyway,
Yeah, but it's from Nas.
I
There's
think
that
he's
loops in this
definitely-
one? Okay.
And anyway, I think he's annoyed by the lack of respect in the hip hop game because a big part of what this track is to place him, so you understand where he's at. So people don't even give him the respect to like spell his name right. So he does give you that whole little thing. He talks about how he has like game and he's into girls, but he's not like his priority. But he's really into older women. And like back when he was in high school, he was macking on the teachers and whatnot, which was fun. And then then he can just kind of like feel the passion for his change to be different, and he does. He references Nas like in this track, so yes, definitely.
Whose world is this? It's mine. It's mine. Like, that's basically like Nas's song.
And honestly, my one grievance with this track from like a philosophical level is his blatant disregard for criticism from like critics and whatnot. And I don't mean that.
Well, like what he's saying is that he can like sell. He's not going to get the same amount of people coming to his shows as like the big names, but he's still performing at the same places as them.
agreed. But then it just goes straight fuck the critics. Your opinions are worthless, which to me is a little bit on the. I get your point of view on the one hand, fuck the haters and all that shit. But on the other hand, you should be open-minded to the fact that perhaps there is something about what you're doing that could change and evolve and grow. From a philosophical point of view, it's almost like he wants to put himself into a sandbox of his vision and doesn't want to change that.
Well,
Yeah.
he
But
makes it very clear that
It's
he's
pretty
really...
freaking dope for what it is, right?
No,
Yeah.
it is. But he
But-
makes it very clear that he's old school, that he's on this old school wave, and I think that he holds it solid. He knows how to carry that
I know,
flow,
but he literally just told us to go fuck ourselves.
and that's
No, not really. I think what he's saying.
Well,
I think
no,
that he
wait,
sounds like
no,
an
no,
up and comer.
critics.
he
And we're talking
basically-
Okay, I
about
guess.
He basically just told us to go fuck ourselves.
I
But-
mean, I'm playing there. I just in
But
general.
like in this song, he just sounds like an up and comer. Like he's not quite
Yeah. Well,
there
the song,
yet.
the
Like
song
he's
also
growing.
debates, like the song also not debates, but explains his world in terms of like I kind of took it as like Wayne's World, like his own little world. Not like, just I'm using Wayne's World as Wayne's World, like my world.
Okay.
It's just his world, how he runs things, his movements, his skills.
See, I appreciate that, and don't even get me wrong. I give this track a 4.5 on 5. I think it's near perfect. I think like the beat is really on point. The energy is great. It's not like my go-to in hip hop, so it's hard to give it a 5. And I do feel like it's really like a high competition, flossing. Like you can feel every word is perfectly chosen for every line. The flow is super on point and everything. I'm truly impressed by him, and he has the energy that was missing on that other album. Because one of our biggest grievances was that it was almost like there was no flair or style to the way he talked. And here it's just there, and I'm really into it already. I think it's a fucking strong start.
Yeah,
Nice.
I think it's good. I think it's interesting. He's also talking about like where he grew up and where he came from, and that he's saying that his little sisters and little brothers are seeing things, and he wants to change that. His little sisters are seeing like hookers and prostitutes when they look out the window, and then the brothers are seeing like pushers and hustlers and like pimps and people who are killing people.
Siblings.
And and then we find out later on just how many he's got, and so like. It's interesting that he wants to change that, and he wants to do right by his mom, and that his dad was a pastor and may have hit him, but he still like has that like that upbringing of Christianity. He knows how to be good, but he also knows that it's controversial, I guess.
Right.
Like it's not like he obviously doesn't want to be like being hit and beat up because he wasn't listening to things. But anyways, I think that he just wants to like help take care of his family and like kind of pay back his mom
Super
for something.
introspective. It's just something else I wanted to throw in there. Like you really feel like you're in his head.
Yeah.
In the way that Nas through Illmatic made you feel like you were in his head, and that I think is a really cool thing.
And that's clearly his inspiration for this song. So I think it's pretty cool. I give this one a 4 on 5. I thought it was clear. He's determined. He wants to make the change. So I think that he's like on the road to do that.
Okay.
Nice. I gave this song a 4 on 5. It was produced well right off the bat. Like we said, he's got that energy that was missing from the last album. I like how he really just created his own world, and not created it, but he explained it in a very creative way. How he makes his moves, like I said, and makes his decisions. And I think that the beat was produced well too. Like, Exile did a really great job on this, so 4 on 5.
All right, let's talk about the narrow path.
All right.
With devils that dwell play, they metal with metal and letting every shell spray until they.
I like this song even more than the last song.
Really?
I find it super relatable.
Mm-hmm.
In a very direct way. I mean, this track is kind of about
relating to music.
Well, I mean, the track kind of explores the grind, right?
Right.
In a very, it's the narrow path in the sense of the Christian metaphor of the narrow, harder path, the one that's less chosen and all that shit.
Right.
And he's right off the jump with the chorus and whatnot saying, I don't want to lie to you. It's fucking hard. It's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
And then he kind of takes you through his different struggles and the frustration that he's trying to, he's trying to do all the right things. He's trying to balance his proper workload with the relationships, and he's trying to focus and kind of put it all together, but at the same time he's dealing with where he's coming from and the reality and the context and the streets and all of this
but he's
stuff.
also saying that in Hollywood, he sees everybody, all the rappers and stuff, they're doing well, and they're they make a lot of money and they're coming up and they're moving to Beverly Hills or something, but he sees them still acting the way that they would in the hood, and then that's what's going to bring them back there, and he doesn't want to do that. He just wants to take the narrow path, I guess, so that he has a savings account or something.
I was trying to say, he's trying to do it the slow and steady and the proper. I mean, proper is maybe not the right word.
He doesn't go out partying. He's just working.
He's a frugal,
he's
really hard
organized his
guy.
Priorities in a way that allow him to achieve.
But he's also
achieve.
super realistic about the fact that most people don't actually succeed in this. So you have to behave in a way that it is for the long haul, and it is going to take real time. And over the way, you're gonna for me, it was the part where he describes how he kind of he doesn't smile anymore, and that to me was I get that. At a certain point, you just work so hard and the results may not come in the way that you want and stuff. And I felt like he was just writing this open letter to everyone who ever wanted to grind and saying, this is what's up. And it was pretty heartfelt and across the board. Plus, the beat's well done. The flows are on point.
Really? I didn't feel the beat was as polished as the last one. That was my only real thing.
I liked it more.
I liked the message behind the song. I liked what he was doing with it. I just felt like the beat wasn't as polished and wasn't just a little so old school. I don't know. I didn't really get on me on the beat.
I feel a little bit like the opposite because I know you like the last beat more, but and maybe it's just I feel like across the board on both the albums we reviewed,
Well,
the
it
beats
is
are super
slower.
consistent. But even though it's slower, he filled it right. Like,
But he's trying to. I feel like in this one, he's like, or at least at the beginning, he's like talking to like an older generation. He's trying to explain like what it is that he's trying to do, and that he's trying to like push past like everybody else who's doing the same thing as him, and he's trying to shine. He's trying to shine in that world where he's trying to like get past and get ahead, where he's going to be like the best, and he's going to keep working and grinding, and he's going to keep doing this, and he just keeps explaining like how he's going to do this, and he just wants everybody to listen to him. And
but
so
I think he's also trying to like pave a new way, a more responsible, like reliable way to success, which is something I can highly appreciate because
for sure.
there are a million motherfucking shortcuts, and by choosing the narrow path, it takes longer, but the results and the reward are just anyway. I give this song a 5. Honestly,
Oh, wow.
it to me like there's no flaw in it. The rhymes is on point. The subject matter and diversity displayed is on point. I don't know what he's talking about with the beat. To me, that's on point. Like and honestly, it's that kind of proactive, well-constructed song that you could put on, and it just kind of like you can feel, you can ride with it. Anyway.
All right. I give this one a 3.5. I thought it was good. I thought it was like an easy listening kind of song. Like it was slow. And like maybe that's what I mean. Like it's like for like maybe like an older generation. And he's kind of slowing it down. And he's really trying to explain what he wants. What?
I'm younger than you.
So?
Anyway, he said older
You're not even
generation.
getting
Go
it.
on.
Then he's just like trying to, yeah, but that's what it is. He's talking to like the older generation. And so anyways, I just think that he's slowing it down, and he wants people to like understand exactly like what's going on and where he's from, and that's it.
I gave the song a 3.5 on 5. I like the message behind it. I wasn't too happy with the beat. I'm not saying it's not produced bad. It didn't sound as loud, as polished, as it just sounded a little soft and a little I don't know. It just sounded soft. And as well, I kind of get the message a little bit, like the grind is hard, and for me this was just another like you gotta stay on your grind to get what you gotta be, just more intelligent.
I don't actually think that's the case, because this is more addressing the fact that trying to do the right thing comes at the cost of success, as opposed to...
Well, he's not out there partying every night.
And
like,
he's
that's
not
what
out
saying.
there living this life where he sees everyone else doing...
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like, he's like, you gotta stay at home and like grind on your shit. Like, you gotta spend hours on writing your lyrics instead of spending hours getting drunk.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Which is, like, nobody says that.
That's what I'm saying. Okay, yeah, no.
It's a different message.
Right?
That's it.
Because what I'm trying to say is...
Well, like, the concept of... No, because
like,
I'm trying... Okay,
just in general, just to counter it, this is everything you've been looking for, a fresh take on a subject.
Right, I didn't... But I'm saying that the topic of the grind, like, it was just... Because I hear a lot of songs where it's always like, I've been grinding, I've been doing this, I've been on the block. And it's just, instead of him being on the block, he's just, like, on the computer.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, it's different, but it's not something new that I've heard.
It's completely something new that you've heard. What I'm trying to say is, Chris, as we've gone on many times, everything has been said before. There are millions of fucking songs. You're going to tell me you're not going to find an artist ever that's going to have an album where you're going to find a subject you've never heard before. So to be like, oh, he wrote a song about the grind. Well, no, that's... How did he write the song about the grind?
Yeah, but it's a different grind. It's a different grind.
And he's describing something that is completely unlike
he's got a
all the
point.
other grind songs you've heard. And that's not even good enough to satisfy you?
I'm a very complex individual.
But then all you got to do is throw on the bag or sound like modern trap, and you're... Anyway, I'm just saying, this is like... From an analytical point of view, understand, this was a different take on it, which means it's
Fair.
not the same subject.
Fair.
What
Still
I'm trying to say
3.5
is
on
it's
5.
simply amazing, still blazing.
Is it soul amazing?
Hold on, we can talk about that.
From my lungs slips into the sky like we smoke. My peoples need hope, and I'm the one with it.
Interestingly enough, this is apparently a remix of the song Soul Provider that opened off the album that we talked about yesterday, which is weird because that album came out in 2017, but this song came off of a mixtape a year before this album. And see, like, it's taking a second to try to figure out the timeline of what we've reviewed. I don't know.
But this one is called Soul Amazing, Steel Blazing.
So yeah,
Because I googled the back of like the album so I could see what the song
touch on
was
that
called.
point because here was my rule on Spotify, and I'm gonna even put a screenshot here for everybody. This is what the fucking album track list was. And then on everything else, it was a whole other track list, but I'd already done all the prep work for this video based off of that track list and how it was listed on Spotify. And given what I'm going to link in the video below, that's the track list that will appear. I don't know why the track list changed. If you are watching this video and you know how that happened, please let me know. But in like the meantime...
But it's soul, like S-O, and then in brackets, like U-L. And then,
on top of that, it's not just this track. Pretty much the whole track list is fucking different. So if you know these songs by different names, understand that the same songs in the same order with similar names, but it's fucking Spotify's fault as far as I'm concerned. Anyway.
Can't trust what you find on the internet.
Now that we've established why the names in this track list are not the same, maybe I'll add the slash in the bottom after at some point for the old names. Maybe if you guys want it, I don't know. Let me know in the comments if it's important, y'all.
By then it's going to be too late.
Well, it'll be fucking up and then it'll change. So, I'm in front of the computer a lot. Anyway. This track is pretty much the same essence of it, right? He's kind of explaining the mantra of his music, and like, I didn't necessarily care as much about the content on this song. I cared about the emotion that he expressed, right? Because you feel like, again, you're in his mind cruising, and when you really close your mind and you just listen to the way he puts words together, the way his flow is so dope. And I even went back and I checked against Soul Provider. I'm like, no, this is doper than the Soul Provider track was. He's even more smooth and fluid with it, but there's emotional range displayed. His flow is not, it's so crazy. There's a lot of subtleties to it, and his wordplay, the way he's able to just rhyme things and come up with the diverse, and it's like, this is some college level rap is what I'm trying to say right now in terms of the vocabulary employed, especially at the time in hip hop it was. I mean, it's fucking cool to me. I'm baffled and blown away, and I really like the beat too. I like this whole...
This is, again, quite a slow song.
I don't know. I guess normally I don't feel it, but this is the kind of shit where you put your headphones on, you close your eyes, and you lounge out in a chair. It's not high-energy music. It's almost like meditation music.
I see that. I think that's why I kind of fell off a little bit on this track as well. I felt like he was basically describing how he's simply amazing and how he feels about himself and what he sees around him and how people kind of look at him and how he kind of interprets that. But I was just like, this is soft. This isn't, I don't know. I like the technical proficiency in terms of how he does things, but I felt like it was just his voice and the song itself was just very soft.
Yeah, but it's supposed to be.
But meditation music, cool. Yeah, it wasn't bad. I just, because like for me, it was just a little, wasn't like something I was feeling.
Like, I mean, the idea that something has to be hard to be good is ridiculous. In my head, I'm gonna chuck that out the window.
Right.
Because he's not a hard guy in the sense of that he has some harder lines, but this song is more about the soul of the music is what makes it amazing. In fact, the song's kind of saying, I don't have to be hard because I'm really in touch with what makes the music truly amazing.
And I'm not disputing that. I didn't feel this one. I didn't feel like it was, I didn't feel like he was as loud as he should have been. I felt like his voice was a little low.
It's interesting.
I mean, I don't know about that. Maybe your headphones suck. Because like, maybe. I listen to take in mind just for that subject. I basically have studio headphones I bought specifically to make sure when I hear these songs I can hear it all mixed at the right like the way it is. So I don't actually know how it sounds on bad headphones, but I thought the mixing on every song was pretty solid. The voice and beat were pretty on point, and this track to me also establishes the part where he's still in touch with the streets and where he comes from in his hood, and he's still with this squad, and while he might not be the one committing crimes, he's still with people who do the things that get done. So it's still a part of his environment and his reality, all while still chasing this musical dream and stuff. Like, it's almost like he has decided to dedicate his heart to music instead of other things and whatnot. And I feel like when you're dealing with somebody's story like that, it's just truly fascinating. His delivery is on point. Like, if you go back to this track in a different context, don't look at it like a banger. Look at it like you gotta sit there and you close your eyes. And
but that's it. It's like it depends on like what you think is gonna be good, and so
I feel like I've made those type of statements on this podcast, and that we weren't allowed to judge songs like that. It's
Yeah,
like,
but you use the words hard to describe this, so I
well,
think
no,
it's
I've
fair
had
to-
explanations where I'm like, the song made me feel nice because I was walking down this, and that wasn't a valid explanation.
Yeah,
but if I
but
have to
you
sit here and
arbitrarily-
meditate to the,
Yeah,
I mean,
but I mean,
It is quite a slow and soulful
I'm sorry,
song.
but I think that when you are dealing with something like lyrically driven, intense hip hop,
Right.
if you don't take the time to sit there and meditate to it, it's the kind of music it is. You're not really giving the music the fair justice. Whereas something that's more on a pop end of things, maybe it is more of a dancey. Like, you're not putting this on to dance to, right? So,
Yeah.
it's
but I
understanding
mean,
the genre.
no, but
So
like if you're sitting here listening to the album and I'm walking and
if you are
enjoying whatever,
multitasking
like,
while listening to this album, you are not listening to this album, is what I am saying. Because it's not the kind of album you can listen to while you're out there doing a bunch of shit. In fact, every time I review every album, I do nothing but I stop and I listen to it. Because otherwise, I'm not listening to the album, I'm multitasking, and I'm not
yeah, but it
hearing...
could be like he was just doing it while he was
Even
like
if you're walking, you're multitasking. Your brain is distracted, it's divided, and you're... In fact, I've had people tell me you should go as far as to close your eyes to block off the sense of vision to distract your brain even less if you really wanted to. I don't go that far.
nice. I said picture him just going like,
But
this song
to me,
is so amazing.
like, you're not actually... Because how are you supposed to like, really focus on how he's using the words and stuff if you're worried about a red light?
Well, like, I don't know. I do it. I can actually, like, I can
telling you that
memorize
if you
songs
were
and I
to-
can, like, practice lyrics while I'm walking and, like, learn the song.
But if you were to instead sit there and actually listen to the albums and spend an hour, just close your eyes
Yes,
and
I'm
block
not
out
saying that wouldn't
everything
help
else,
either.
I guarantee you your experience of every single album you reviewed would be different. And it's really
Maybe.
because
Maybe.
this is about how can you possibly review an album if you're not paying attention to it, and how can you pay attention to it if you're doing other things. That's just a side note. You can let us know what you think in the things.
Let us know.
But given how lyrical and dense this is, you couldn't have captured the nuances if you weren't
Well,
focusing.
no, I mean, we're listening to it more than once, so assumably, like,
Well,
eventually some
did
of us
you-
are going to be, like, getting into it. But anyways,
No, but-
I'm going to... Anyways, so his his music will make your soul alive. Like, that's what he's trying to get across here. He's just trying to be slow and soulful, and he wants to make this kind of music and, like, make you feel something, but he's making it for specifically, like, Black people. Like, I think he says that. Like, he wants, like, them to be able to, like, have, like, that kind of soulful music without it being, like, gospel, without it being, like, rap. Like, he's kind of in the middle of, like, everything that he's doing. And so I just think it was interesting the way that he was doing this. You know, he is, like, the soul provider. And, like, he means, like, two different things when he says that. You know, it's, like, obviously he's the soul provider. You know, maybe he's like making money and he's giving it to his family and stuff like that, and he's the only one, and he's also providing for your soul. So I think it's very interesting the way he did this. That being said, I thought it was cool. I liked it, but it wasn't also like the most like hard and whatever. So I gave this one a 3.5.
Man, it's just not a song that was meant to be hard. I gave it a 4.5.
No, it's not meant to be hard at all.
It's totally like a lyrical. Like, if you look at this, the quality of the rhyming is on point with some of the other classics we're giving like crazy marks to. And I don't know, I'm so baffled by this, because to me this is right next to Nas. This is right next to the Wu-Tang in terms of scale, like in terms of how he's rhyming it.
Well, I don't think maybe I didn't listen to like the other album, but you know, like it's maybe he's like, for me, like this sounds like he's working up to that. Like he's almost at that like quality of music, but he's not quite there. But I do feel a lot from his music, so I do think it's good.
Fair enough.
Nice.
Next up is Juice and Dranks.
Steps to heavens in here. Get your bitch right. Crash nuts. Keep the shit tight.
This one had a much funkier beat to it, and it had a featured guest of Tarach.
Watch.
I don't know how to pronounce it.
I would say Tarok. Kind of.
I don't know.
I think
Anyway,
Tarach would be
Tarach.
a thing.
And I really like this one. This one is really them kind of like flossing a bit with the wordplay again. And it's again, like, I feel like you can see how it's really about making sure that the hip hop almost remains pure in a sense, where it's focused on the wordplay, the timing, the delivery. They kind of go back and forth between verses and bring with it this high level of intensity and energy. And I thought this was a delightful freaking track. Like, you can just almost feel like a bridging of the old and the young with it too, I believe.
Yeah.
And
whatever, Tarach has like a really cool sound. Like he just sounds cool. Like it's really, I like it.
And like I feel like there was almost nothing new in terms of reinventing the wheel on this song. Like it's a very almost cliche, flossy,
executed
fun
back and
song,
forth.
but it's so well done and it's so delightful. And I felt like you could just put this on and bump it all the time. And if you want to listen to it casually, you can. If you want to like just focus on it, you totally can, because there is the substance and the flossiness to the rhymes, and it almost justifies a lot of what you previously heard, because you're starting to see how this guy really just is a lyrical genius in the way that he delivers it. I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. I ended up giving this one a 4.5 as well. It was just, I feel like it's so impressive on just what it's like perfectly crafted songmanship in terms of what it is. Like, there's no mistakes. It's just flawless almost.
And there's like old video game sounds or something in it, and it just sounds like it doesn't sound like it's from 1995. It does sound like an older kind of song, but it is cool. He just wants to like put like make, I don't know, he wants to put the light in your life, and he's just, I don't know, I thought it sounded really, really cool. I can't put my finger on it what it was about this song that I really liked about it, but just like maybe just everything, maybe just the whole lot of everything. But I thought it was pretty neat. I like this one. I also gave it a 4.5.
I actually gave it a 4 on 5. Honestly, I like everything about it. I like how it feels like it's a ride on the town. Just the way that he goes out through the song. Other than that, the beat was well produced. The sound was great, and they both have this. I like how they both are able to go back and forth, and they know when to kind of go in without having to like make obvious signals. Like I feel like on some songs there's obvious signals, like the person clearly stops at this point and the other person clearly starts, and these two together, I felt like they were able to just kind of go at it, and it was really cool. So I gave it a 4 on 5.
Nice.
And the next track is in Remembrance
of Me.
We stretched out rich, riding limos and such. Boy, I was just a dreamer, rocking shows like.
This one totally kind of goes through his memory as he's just kind of
growing up.
He's like reliving his life, and almost like you almost get the sense that he's like 10 years older than he is in like the tone of this song, which he almost addresses in the third verse when it's like his mom was like, "You're too young to write this shit," and he's like, "Nah, man. On top of everything else, my grandfather died," and blah blah blah. But like he really goes through like shit, like how he got laid like with his dad banging the side chick in the next room, and just a lot of the different
and that's how he lost his virginity.
Yeah, while his dad was cheating in the next room. You can kind of get the sense of how difficult it's been for him as a rapper going through and just trying to, if you really consider some of the stuff he's explained on the earlier tracks of the conflicts he's facing, it kind of really adds to the experience of this song.
And he like has, he's talking about like how he was a kid, and then he goes and has sex without a condom, and then now he's he could be a father, and he's barely like a man himself, and so he's just kind of like struggling with that like situation.
Just in general, you get this high sense of like there's a lack of innocence in his life.
But he sees also like the naivete of like his past, and like how he was like a naive teenager, and what he's done wasn't maybe always the smartest stuff, but he came out, and like he's looking for the future. He's looking towards the future, and like he's also saying like that people in his community, like I say, he's saying a lot of black people, is like hearing what the older generation is saying, and he's like you guys need to stop focusing on the past and stop like blaming stuff on what's been done to you, and move on to the future and be greater than that. And that's it. That's what he's just trying to say in this, and I think it's an interesting story that he's putting across.
Well, I like how he also defines his past and how things made him who he is today, and he acknowledges that, so he's trying to also push forward. I was a little confused on terms if I know he accepts who he is today in this song, but I also feel like I don't know if he likes it or doesn't. He just has to accept it. And I feel like he's still trying to just push forward in a better way, regardless of where he is now, if it's good or bad.
That is where he is. He's come to accept the realities. In general, you get the feeling that the guy is about understanding a real perspective of his reality and an understanding that you have the power to flip that perspective of your reality. And I find it just another great example. The lyricism is on point. The guy's flow. I mean, he kind of reminds me a lot of the 90s. It's not like he's got a million tricks up his sleeve per se, which is fine because the quality of his writing
He's very honest.
is so good that he can more or less almost drop a very similar flow on every song, but you know he's got something to say. So when you go listen to it, and that's why I kind of thought of Wu-Tang a bit yesterday. I thought about Wu-Tang again today. Think about a guy like Nas or some of the other greats, and just how every time you listen to their music, you can find some extra level of meaning within it. And the way he layers his lines to have so many little ideas popping through a congruent global idea is really demonstrated well here. And one of the main things that I'm liking about Below the Heavens more than the album we did yesterday is that the subject matter keeps changing up. It's not just the same idea. And he brings that through again here, and I'm giving this one another 4.5. It's too good.
Nice. I gave this one a 4 on 5. I did think it was good. I thought it was very honest. It's all about him, and I think he just wants to everybody to keep growing and get better, and yeah, I think it was pretty cool. Nice. And it has a bit of a jazzy bit at the end too.
Yeah, I give it a 4.5 on 5. I think that everything about this song is really great. I like how it's produced. The jazzy feel at the end was great. The only thing that stopped it from making it a near 5 is just, I think it's the style I'm having an issue with. I don't want to discredit what he does. He's amazing. I guess
can appreciate that. This is conscious, soulful music. They're not my favorite beats. They're not my favorite go-tos. But this is really an album for lyricism and a certain vibe.
Yeah.
So that makes total sense. But this is a well-crafted song. Anyway, next up is Blu Collar Worker.
They put enough in. Plus, I'm kind of cute, so it's hard for them to trust him. Asking what I'm doing.
I really like this song.
Yeah, me too.
It's got another great,
It's very uppity. It's a little bit more
I mean...
something.
It's kind of approaching all the different expectations put on him. And I know how he has to try to juggle everything. And no matter what he seems to do, it's like this girl he can't seem to figure out a way to make this work with the ladies while also still being a rapper. It's either
he doesn't have time for them and he's always working.
But if he's not working and he makes time for them, then he's broke and he doesn't have enough money for them. And so he's kind of caught between this rock and this hard place. But then there's also stuff like his girl is jealous because her cousin's married to a rich guy who's hustling on the block, but he's just well, I'm a rapper, I'm trying to do the right thing here, and so I'm broke. And then you can kind of see how I get the feeling that after the first verse is done, the girl breaks his heart, and he's because he's he wasted time with her. And then in the second verse, he's just kind of saying, well, now I flip my mentality, I'm a little bit colder here. I used to be nice, but now I don't see how I can be because I'm tired of these games and these shenanigans. And
yeah,
he just really sells it. Look, if you want to mess with me, you got to understand that I'm on that blue collar grind. This is what my world is.
But it's BLU.
Yeah. And he lays it down in such a honest way where
he's not a dick about it. And I think that's the difference between a lot of... Because, okay, I'm not saying this sounds the same, and I'm not saying it's anything like the same of this, but it's also, he's taken the I'm on that 9-to-5 grind, hustling all the time vibe, and he's basically made it into a way where he's like you said, I'm not on that vibe, so I'm doing this. But I need to focus on this.
I feel it's also this realization that he can't actually meet the expectations of these women. So rather than trying, he's trying to instead lay down, this is what I can bring to the table. I might not be rich. I don't have a car. I don't know if he's saying on this one. I know he says that on the album. And et cetera, but this is me and who I am. And I do kind of find him a bit of a dick about it, but not in a dickish way. He kind of sounds like a dick at first glance because it's just not nice what he's saying. But he's just kind of
Well, he
laying
says he
down
doesn't
the
care,
truth.
like, basically, that he gets dumped because it's like, whatever, he's still going to be working.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, he's still going to make it. He's still going to do all this shit. But I kind of like this song. I mean, it's, again, another approach to regular tropes, right? So you get a lot of, like, I think that's what made me like Big Pun's women songs, right? Because he like, I'm not a player, I just fuck a lot. It was just a whole different take on that regular. And he's doing the same thing here. Like, I can relate to the idea of a guy just trying to work and not being rich enough and all this other stuff. Like, he's basically writing in the same way that the Beatles wrote for regular people at first.
Yeah, I guess.
Nice. Nice.
Anyway, I gave this one another 4.5 because honestly, this guy's like lyrical goldmine of dopeness.
Nice. I gave this a 4. I liked it. I liked how he took making rap music and kind of like related it to a blue collar worker and actually like getting a real job, or what people would consider like a real job, because you know a lot of people think that rapping isn't a real thing. But I mean, come on. Like, a lot of people think that rapping isn't really a real job until you actually pop off and, oh, look, now you're famous and everybody says it's a career.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool.
I like how he did that. But I also liked how he, like we discussed, he describes the difficulties of having to manage a lot of things. And I don't like to think he's acting like a dick. I think he's just kind of laying it down and he's being honest to the women, like, look, this is what I'm doing. This is me. And it's like, if you're ready to be with me, this is what we need to get done. If you're not, then let me know and we can just kind of move on from here. Because he's not trying to waste their time either. And I think that's what he's also getting across. He's just like, look, we can do this, but you also need to understand that, 85% of the time I'm going to be in my booth.
You need to, well, it's not so much to be in the booth. It's you need to understand that,
well, right.
Like, you can't have it both ways. You either get the money and the this or the that and the that, and that's just the reality of the situation for now. I think it's pretty well-rounded. It's a pretty exceptional track.
Yeah.
Again, it's a unique song on this album, a whole distinct experience, which really makes this impressive because we're 6 tracks in.
Yeah, I gave this one a 5 on 5. This is my first one. So I did like this one quite a lot. It is uppity. It's fun. I'll listen to this one again. Yeah, it's real life.
Anyway, next one is Dancing in the Rain.
Don't nobody wanna liberate the weight of the pain.
I felt like he was broken on this one.
And it weirdly follows up really well after the last one thematically.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like he was more broken. I feel that he is trying to... 2 things. One, he's trying to allude to the fact that he enjoys dancing in the rain, which not a lot of people do and they're afraid of, and it's kind of like rain is looked upon like darkness and like very negative or whatever. But I also feel like he's also playing upon the fact that, like, what do you catch yourself doing a lot of times when you get heartbroken or, like, you deal with a rough situation? You're kind of just dancing, like quotations around dancing in the rain, because it's not pleasant to most people. And I thought that he connected that really, really well in terms of the very great description of all the negative possibilities that were happening around him at the time.
But he's taking this song and he's like, even though, like, if it's raining, it's like often like quite a sad feeling if you're out in the rain and it's very mopey, but he wants you to like shake your ass, and he's like he's basically saying just shut up and be happy. Mm-hmm. He doesn't want anyone to be like miserable. He's trying to like make this a happy song.
It's a little bit more than that. It's more like there's no point in being unhappy because nobody gives a shit anyway. All they want you to do is just shut up and shake your ass and dance in the rain. So it's almost like an ironic situation where, like, he finds himself so miserable and unhappy and realizing that nobody cares anyway. So in his state of broken, he just starts dancing in the rain because at least if you have that, like, you're giving more to people or whatever. And it's kind of like if you go to work and you're unhappy, people give you shit, but if you're smiling, everybody's cool with you.
Yeah.
And that's another way, I guess, to look at it. While he's just framing this struggle he's trying to go through. Like, I think this is where he mentions lines like, I don't know how to handle life, and maybe other people can draw pain from depression, but, like, I'm fucking breaking here, and I don't know how to deliver these hits, and I don't know how to do that while I'm going to work and while I'm trying to do all this.
Yeah,
and
he's
shit just keeps
working and he's
going
rapping,
on,
and like his,
Very
you know,
relatable.
his girlfriend just wants him to like start selling drugs because she sees that that's how other people
Yeah,
are making
and
money, and
he's
he's
just
like, I'm not
trying
gonna do that. Like,
And then it's like he doesn't have the time to like it's like he's just being pulled in all directions and he can't figure out a way to make it work. And I feel like the last track really helped contextualize maybe a little bit of his grind with women and struggle, but this one just took it to a whole new level where you can almost feel him snap between the songs, and now he's just dancing because it's all he can do anymore. I guess
he's like,
a
being
5.
depressed and miserable won't get you anywhere. Just being happy will.
So this is a 5. This is like a perfect song. Like I can't think of anything wrong. That hook is just so great. It's versatile. That beat, you can just feel the instruments, and it's just, honestly, I love the beats on this album in the sense that they can really convey the emotional tone he's going for so specifically on each track, and it delivers through again here.
Well,
Cool.
I gave this song a 4.5 on 5.
I gave it a 4. I did think it was cool. I thought it was honest, and I think that he just wants everyone to be happy. That's it.
Nice.
Alright, so first things first is the next song.
And the shop is outdated, and I ain't into playing games. Plus, I already hate them fake ballers that.
So with this track, we have him again going on about spitting game to women, but this time he's literally spitting game to the woman.
He just wants to get to know you first.
But it's more than that. He wants to get to know you, and in the way that Chris was describing, he was being like honest up front about like everything. You're just like, I'm gonna have to take the bus. I might not be able to give you my phone number because I have to pay the bill again before it gets turned on. I don't even want to mention I'm being a rapper because then you're gonna ask all sorts of questions about my chain and my like my money situation. And you know you saw me sharing a drink with that guy, so I can't even front like I'm broke. I'm like, you can see how he's just so aware of all of the different pitfalls that come from just trying to have a regular conversation with somebody.
But he's still trying to be a gentleman.
You know what's cool? I like how he... I don't know, maybe you can help me with this, but I don't know how to say this. I like how he described how women kind of analyze the situation. Like, when he mentioned, you know, like, you saw me buying a drink from over there, you saw me doing sorts of things. It's like, we don't kind of think of that, you know? Like, I don't, like, if I'm going to talk to a girl, right?
Well, you should think of that.
I don't think of like, oh my God, you just saw me like buy a small coffee or whatever, you know.
That, well, that's the thing is he's implying that he has the game of a player, right? Because he's coming at it like.
But he's quite sexual, but he also isn't in it just for sex. Like,
But
as
he's
well.
like, I think he's trying to establish I could be a player with this. I could lie to you about my car being in the shop. I could drop all the same lines. I could, and he's trying to establish he could do all that. But instead, he's going to be real with you because. At the end of the day, what he's looking for is more profound, right?
Yeah, somebody to ride with him for who he is and not for, like, what he can do, what he can bring. You know, like, just with that car line alone, I'm not... It's like he's afraid to bring up any materialistic things because he doesn't want that to shatter or shadow anything that he can really bring to the table.
Because he doesn't have it. He's broke.
Right.
And then he follows it up by pointing out
He's like,
how,
broke people need love too.
And then he's kind of like, but I see what happens. All these other guys come in flossing, and you just stop talking to me mid-conversation and start talking to him. Or I saw you turn down those guys who was even richer than me. How am I supposed to even approach you? And things like that. And I don't know. I love the spirit of this song. I mean, you've heard a lot of tracks where guys spit game. But I love his perspective on this. It's so relatable. It's so... Even if you're past that point in your life, if you ever lived this kind of broke-ass life, you can remember being in that point where you're like, like that scene in How High where you can honestly see how much money he has in his pocket as the date progresses.
And then he gets more.
And he, like, steals from the homeless cup and shit. And, like, you can picture Blue having that date as you're going through it. Anyway, 4.5 on 5 because... This guy is a master at capturing specific emotions and bringing you through his head in such an honest way. It's such a refreshing album so far.
I found this one to be like quite interesting. It's like a club hit, but not for the clubs. It's all about like what he's gonna do in the clubs and like how he's gonna approach all these women. But it's definitely not like a club kind of a hit song. So I thought it was interesting. I gave it a 3.5 on 5 because I liked the way his realness was.
I just want to state this right now. I don't know if I said
Oh,
this.
and Miguel's on the song.
Yeah.
Right.
He sings.
I don't know if I said this earlier, but haven't you guys noticed how he likes to bring a lot of positive vibing instrumentals to it, and Exile likes to make a lot of positive, happy beats, but there's a lot of serious context in it.
Yeah.
I like that contrast because, one, who doesn't like listening to a happy beat, and then two, who refuses
Want
to
you to
listen to
shake your
something
ass.
serious?
Like most people refuse to listen to something serious.
But you okay?
Well,
But that's why it's like because of the
That's
beat.
with the happy beat. Like the happy
I
beat
think
sucks you in,
it's
and
not
then
so much that it's the happiest beat. It's that the beat takes you somewhere. A lot of these beats, like it almost has this like elevating feel to it. I don't know if it's happy as so much as elevating. I feel like
okay.
it kind of lifts me up a little bit because
Okay.
it's
It
not
lifts you
always
up.
happy. Some of these beats are funky. Some of them are a little on the more depressing end of it. Like anyway. All I'm trying to say is they do have all of that soulful, like kind of like very instrument driven feel to it, but I find it almost as like church music, like
Okay.
funky, soulful church music with crazy good rhyming on top of it.
Yeah.
Next track though, I don't know what you have written down. This
I have no greater love.
It's called Greater Love on Spotify.
At the time I was fiending that her beauty's been thinking about the beast and she can't be without love.
All this beat, all that like happy. Because it's kind of on this melancholy,
Right.
but
right.
it's
Yeah.
also still kind of got that churchy kind
But
of in the background.
I
I
was
don't know
only
if
just
it's
trying to
churchy.
relate to like the fact that I've
Gospel-y,
noticed that he's got a
soulful.
lot of very, like, a lot of the serious content that Blue talks about, well, at least describes in serious ways. I feel like, and hate me for being generic, but throw a trap beat on that, throw a dark beat, throw like a nightmare beat, throw something that like, will get you.
Nightmare beat.
I just meant something like horror or whatever in terms of the seriousness that he's trying to bring to the table. But
he's not that kind of guy.
and that's what I'm saying. I like the contrast between how he can get you on both ends. He gets you on the nice vibe feeling, but as well he's like, here's a message for you to understand while you're feeling good.
That's true.
That's what I
See,
was trying to
that's
get
not-
at.
But I'm not. Like, you see, I look at it like I don't know that Blue's trying to make you feel good as much as he's trying to share with you his reality in general. Like
He's trying to give you soul.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you might like. I don't know. Maybe it's just my perception of it. I don't feel the beats were overly happy. They were just really like powerful and uplifting, very emotionally relatable and driven and shit. But this track is also again on that girl vibe. It's like 5 in a row now that are just about girls.
Yep.
No, not a problem per se. No, really think about it.
Well, this one's a little bit more real. Like he's talking about like
but for
like what's
one,
gonna
two,
happen
three,
is that
four, it's the 4th one in a row. It's directly where like it's. Yeah, no, this one is about like questioning lust versus love and the crazy intense emotions of a relationship, down to the obsession. Like he
he
wants
wants
her,
to buy a house and he's trying to figure out how, and he
wants
imagines a
her
son.
to like. He wants her to want him so bad that when he's busy, she's craving him. He wants to text her when he should be sleeping and shit just to go see her. Then they get intertwined. I think they have kids and stuff.
Well,
as
he's
the-
just imagining like a future son and like what that's gonna be like, and the son,
Is this the
as he's
one
growing
where he
up,
says, "From my nuts."
and yeah, I think
Yeah,
so. I think so.
And that was my favorite line on the album, just because honestly, I think if there was ever a relatable lyric for a guy of this generation, it's to stare at your kid one day and go, "That came from my nuts." I'm not gonna lie,
Fair.
I would have that moment if I had a child. Like
Fair.
anyway, that's
And
the
like he
one.
has like a name for the son and everything, and then he's got his own
And
bedroom, and then
it's just it fizzles, right? Because at the beginning, it's clearly an implication of a denial of lust
Mm-hmm.
while describing lust.
Mhm.
And then at the end of the song, he just throws the girl away because there's another one to give him this moment with again.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of how it works when you're in this vibe.
when you're in lust.
You just fall in lust. It fizzles out. You dream of everything. 2-3 months go by. You meet the new girl. It's the whole new thing and
Yep.
all of that. And I thought it was really
I remember
like
the back in the day, always having that.
so here I'm at the first point where I'm like, I'm starting to feel like Chris Chrome, where it's a little bit too much of the same thing and too many songs in a row. And a little bit, I was like, okay.
And
But
I
more than that,
want to say
the beat's kind of simple compared to some of the other ones.
Mhm.
Like, I feel like I get, if this track, I don't know. something about this track just didn't feel as right or as smooth or as talented as the previous ones. So I ended up dropping it down to a 4 on this because it's a great idea, but the delivery just didn't stick as nicely. But it's still a good song, like compared to bad songs. But
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to comment on that. I do make a lot of comments in terms of like the song placements of the repetitive meanings and messages. It kind of did do what it usually does for me, and it was a little bit like, okay, I get it, like the whole women topic. But I liked how each individual song though wasn't each an individual thing. Like it wasn't generic. A lot of the times when I have that type of feeling, it's because you basically talked about fucking this girl and then you basically talked about fucking the next chick on like two different songs right after another.
Right, 3 songs about hip hop being the authenticity of hip hop being super important in a row. And I have to say that it's just even thematically, it feels weird that this comes after all the other songs. Like I don't know.
What do you mean, like on the album or the
love songs? Like this feels like if like the placement of something like Blu Collar, or maybe not. Maybe it's a fine. Maybe they're like.
Well, you know what? I did have a feeling that like.
Or maybe it's just that he's a young horny guy with love on the mind a lot. And
I think
girls
so.
are
I think he's
part of
quite real about what he's talking
about. Think of it
about.
more like in a universal perspective of like what every guy kind of has to go through.
So
I don't want to like, you know, I'm not trying to be sexist or nothing, but like what does every guy really have to go through in terms of trying to like
it's not even too excessive or anything. I just feel like at this point some of the points he's making on this song almost are very comparable to what we've heard interloped over the last 3.
That's true.
So it takes away from it a little bit, and anyway, it's just not as good. So 4.
All right, I give it a 4 as well though.
4 all around.
So Good Life, which I know has a different name.
Show Me the Good Life, featuring Aloe Blacc. So there's this one. There's Aloe Blacc. Fun fact: back in the day when I was on a date with some guy, and he brought me to like a little venue, and it was Aloe Blacc, and I saw his whole show, and he was really
I
good.
literally thought you were gonna be like, back in the day I dated Aloe Blacc.
Imagine.
Like I dated the dude who became Aloe Blacc, and I was just gonna be like,
But
what?
like I had a CD, and then like my friend from Australia, I introduced it to her, and like we drove around and we were listening to it. And I don't know, I thought it was good.
That's fine.
I was excited.
Next classic album, I guess.
We're talking
He is
Kanye
quite
next
soul.
week.
Oh Jesus.
Kanye. This track is a great way to flip it up and put it back into another vibe in terms of subject matter. He starts off kind of mocking materialism with that, like that was ironic what he was doing in the intro, and then he rolls into this whole verse about how he's having a kid and he's tripping.
Can't afford it.
He's just tripping. He's like, and it's the regular kind of tripping.
He's
like,
got lots
what
of
am I gonna
debt. Like
tell
how am
my
I supposed to
kid?
feed them?
How am I? What's gonna happen? And then like, what am I gonna say when he asks me questions? How I handled this? What if I don't do it right? A lot of insecurities and shit. Then Aloe Blacc's verse is kind of like, my parents kept certain realities from me, but then my grandma told me I could be anything. And
You know that she was or that he was the light, and that he needed to like make it brighter, and that he was like the light of their lives, and I thought it was sweet.
And then the third verse has Blu being like, I can show you how to live a life that avoids materialism, because if you pay attention and then a lot of materialistic things happen, and then I'm kind of broke, but check out all the beauty I get. Like, you learn more riding the bus than in a car. And like, you really can kind of see how it's almost like Blu is able to now answer the questions that he was posing in that first verse. And he's decided on what the key points he wants to impart onto his child are.
And like, not just to his child, but I think that to like the like the younger listeners maybe who are listening to this and saying like, this is don't get hooked on like material things. Save your money, like do like the things that are take the bus, do whatever, and like don't floss all your money, like, because that's only gonna last for a little bit.
He has a sense of life.
He's very humble.
But he's also got a very great sense of life, and he's also very analytical about life and how people live, because I get him. In a car, you're too focused on the road, on your surroundings, to really pay attention to like what's really going on in your surroundings. On a bus,
you're surrounded by everybody else.
You're surrounded by everyone else. So you have that time to kind of, zone out of your music or whatever it is, or draw or whatever. But you have that time to just look around in your society, look around.
And for
in
the
your
most
place.
part, it's like people in your own community that are on
Yeah,
the
it's
bus
people
with
you don't know, and it's people you might not talk to, but it's also, you kind of see how they're living, how, like for me, I see a lot of people on their phones. I see a lot of people, like, there's not a lot of discussions happening anymore. It's all, like, virtual. It's all over the technology. I don't see many... I don't see many, like, sports really being done. I see more, like, games and, like, how we're progressing.
Well, I
And
do
you
see a
don't-
lot of people in, like, activewear. And, like, like they're going to do
Listen.
sports. Or they're going to the gym.
Sports
or something.
fashion ain't the same as doing sports.
That's
But
true, it's
I
true.
think it's a little bit just more. He is a more grounded person who is able to pay attention to things, so he understands the value of patience. And I think he's just trying to instill that by, like, look, you get more out of taking the bus for a while than you do out of pulling up in a hot ride, even if it doesn't look like that. And anyway.
I feel like he has in himself, like, the sense of what it's like to be a father. And I think that he's kind of like, he's teaching the world about what it is. And I think that he's
How
maybe
he
not,
perceives it.
yeah, like, not, like, he's not ready to be a father himself, because he sees, there's all these, struggles
He
and
still has
situations.
dreams.
Yeah, but, like, he sees, like, he didn't get the message from his father, and, they didn't get, like, the proper message about, like, how to run your life. And so, like, there's little bits here and there that are, like, blanked out, but he's trying to, like, help you figure that out, I think.
Anyway, I give this one a 4. Mostly because at this point I feel like the beats are really similar, and it might not be that the track is better or worse, but just that it's kind of hard to still get the same level of love I was giving earlier in the album, but it's still solid.
I give this one a 4.5, because for me, like I said, it was feeling like kind of like a conversation that he's having with, like, the youth of, like, that the next generation, and he's just trying to, like, give them some, like, guiding light.
Gave it a 4.
Nice.
So next up I have is Soul Rising.
And I have Simply Amazing.
Strong, my papa thug, I'm a son of a blood with blue gators on. The record spinning his favorite.
I didn't like this one as much. That beat's kind of grating. That
Yeah.
Static, very, very static. We did mention that a lot of the beats were very similar in terms of production, but I
but this
felt
one
like
is
there
like-
was difference in, like, there was,
this
like,
one-
singers and loops and all the
this
other
one
ones.
was just kind of like lame.
No,
Yeah.
yes, it was very
It was
static.
definitely not the
very
greatest.
repetitive for
From
nothing.
like a content subject matter point of view, he's really just kind of flossing a bit, and maybe it really is just that we listened yesterday to like 14 tracks of him basically going on about how hip hop's authentic and he's the great, so it's a little much for me right now to hear him kind of do the same thing again on this track, and that might be a little bit unfair. But his flow's on point. He's quick. He's fucking jumping and he's bouncing. But that beat just kind of hurts to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with his lyrics. There's nothing wrong with his message here. He's again dope MC type shit, and it's good. But I give this a 3.5. He's starting to lose me a bit at this point on the album. And I'm not saying it's over, but I feel like the freshness and the new car smell is worn off a little bit.
Get you.
Well, he's
And-
saying that, like, there's, he was brought up, like, with a lot of thugs and with a lot of, people who weren't up to particularly legal things, maybe. And, he doesn't want that. He wants to get away from
know,
that life.
But I feel like he's
But I
already
feel like-
described that
exactly,
and depicted that
so-
throughout this
Yeah.
album.
And at this point, it's kind of like, you were doing really good on the unique content and the diversity and stuff. And not only did you drop a worse beat, but you revisited a nightmare. Maybe you went into more detail, but like...
But he's
kinda-
walking around, he says he sees the graffiti from, like,
Yeah,
the
but it
different
starts
gangs on the walls.
Yeah, but if you really just kind of listen to the other ones, and he's also describing his surroundings, his society, it's just, again, like Holden said, it's
You know
more
what?
detail, but it's
There
like
was
it's the same.
somebody said to me recently, this track feels more like anybody could have written it, as opposed to the other ones feel more like only he could have written it.
Fair.
And I feel like that's my biggest differentiation between this one and other ones. This is a bit on the personal side.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's still a good song. It's still like it fits. It's not bad, but it's not as good as the other ones.
No, I mean it is a very, like, repetitive about a lot of the same things, that he wants to save money and he's trying to be humble and like all that kind of stuff. But for me, yeah, it definitely wasn't the greatest one. I give this one a 3 on 5 because, like I said, it wasn't the best.
I give it a 3.5 on 5. It's not bad. It's just
Not the best.
good.
Yeah.
All right, so don't be so cold-hearted about it or whatever you wrote down.
Just cold-hearted.
My tongue, numb feelings remain, and pain comes and it goes. But my wounds show the room where my
I feel like this is one of the best tracks on the album, just to counter how little I was interested in the last one. It was, first of all, Miguel drops the chorus. The chorus is with this. It comes in and it's got a good bounce to it while setting the tone, and the dude has a great voice. I mean, he kind of just pops up every decade, as I understand it, drops an album and disappears for a while. Like, he was recently around again, if I'm not mistaken. And then this verses, it's just kind of growing up. Like, it's like what he was trying to do on the last track, but delivered a lot more eloquently and a lot more personal and a lot more in touch with who he is and just the bullshit he's surrounding, his reality. And I don't know, man, that outro. Just Miguel singing and the niceness and the calmness.
It is nice. It's quite a lovely song.
And, like, it's one of those rare times where just having that, like, long, kind of stretchy outro really was the perfect way to
But
end
it's not
it.
that
still
long.
powerful.
It's 3 minutes and 12 seconds.
No, I
Like,
meant
it's
the
not that
outro
long of
part
a song.
of the song.
I know, but, like, that's what I mean. But, like, even, like, that's why I'm like, it can't be that long.
Well,
That's something
no,
that-
like an outro is like what, 20 seconds,
Well,
25.
30, 45
Thir-
seconds.
Right,
Could be.
not like
Even
a whole
on a
third
thr-
verse.
No.
No, depending on your structure, it could still be 30 plus. Anyway, it is worth noting that as the album's gone on, the songs have gotten a little shorter because a lot of the early ones were pushing 5 minutes or around that. So compared to some of them, maybe it's part of it. It's a nice kind of comes in. It's a little more wrapped up. And it really has Miguel. He shines on this shit.
Yeah.
And then it complements it. The song itself has this hopeful feel in the beat that is a good contrast to the almost complicated and darker lyrics being laid down. You feel
Well,
this-
he's saying, you know, like all these bad things have happened and all this, you know, shit that he's gone through, and he's growing from it, and you know, he's going on to do something better.
and I give this a 4.5. Like, if I understand, based on what we're reviewing, there are 15 tracks, and this is the precursor to the last real song, and that the 15th is a bonus one. So you can almost feel in this song that the big triumphant finale to this album's about to happen and whatnot, and it's building up. And like, if you were looking at this a bit like a movie, it's really well placed and it flows along nicely. 4.5.
Yeah, I give this one a 4 because it sounds like he's learned like a lesson, and he's just trying to like pass it on and like make better judgments like in his life and just be a good guy.
Nice. I gave this a 4 on 5. I thought it was really great. I thought Miguel did a great job. I like that like kind of like opera-ish, not opera, but like choir type sound
Yeah.
to it with the singing. But I wouldn't really go back to this. Just pretty much it.
Okay. Let's check out Below the Heavens, Part Uno.
Which I know also had a whole other name, and I'm sorry, I don't know what it is.
these times change quick, but I hate to say it, brother. The youth is too stubborn, too stuck on themselves.
We got a direct Nas quote here as he's kind of going on. And I kind of like even before that, he's like, fuck the world, I love the world. And just how he has such complicated feelings towards the world displayed.
Yeah.
Comes in with the Nas reference and showing that this might be a little bit about the potential and the perspective. And it turns out to be a lot about that. On the jump, my favorite part of this track is how he ends the second verse. I think there's 2 verses, or the last verse, and how he's kind of like, everyone else is busy calling this hell, but I choose to call it below the heavens. And
Yeah.
he's kind of trying to contextualize that you can look around and you can see this place as hell, and you can create the construct. And a lot of the song is looking for this heaven or this hell as it's been
Right.
described to him by the
Well,
different people
not just
in his
looking,
life.
but also he alludes to like building your own heaven, building your own hell.
Right.
as
Well, he says that it's also just, you know, if you need to imagine what, you know, your own personal heaven is. And I think that, you know, at least I've done it. Like, I know what my version of heaven is going to look like. And, You know, like if there's that, I mean, if that's what you're going to believe in, because if you don't believe in it, then you're just going to end up in hell, or you're going to end up in nowhere land.
Which I think like he's trying to bring home the power of suggestion that
It's quite a religious song.
But it's more than that. It's a psychologically powerful song.
Yeah.
Because the root of what he's saying is, if you look around, the world is what you make it, right?
Yeah.
And what that means is, if you look around and you see this heaven, if you see this as heaven, or if you see this as hell, you're going to kind of create that thing. And he's like, I can recognize that obviously this isn't heaven, but as time's going on, it feels a lot less like hell. So I'd rather like, and the way he brands it is below the heavens. Like, we're not quite.
He's doing things to try to like
Change
get
the
up
aspect,
to like get closer to heaven, and you know he's reaching up, and he's
Like, you can
he is
see it,
trying
though.
to
Like,
get
and
there.
I think he's trying to point out that if you look for it, you can still see little pieces of heaven around you in the midst of all this other stuff. And I really like it. I really like how he focuses on the power of suggestion. The beat's great. The homage to Nas and his influence is great. I give this a 4.5. It's excellent. Like, this to me is the last real track on the album. It's a fucking smash. It is a really knock him out of the park, powerful, personal, great way to end this experience.
Nice.
I give it a 4.5 on 5. I think that he really captivated the message of questioning heaven and hell. I really got sucked into this whole creating your own heaven, creating your whole hell idea. And that if we choose, I don't know if I heard this correctly, and I should have quoted it, my bad, but I felt like there was a part where he was saying, like, if we choose to believe in a God and to believe in something that's higher power, then why can't we choose to build our own path and build our own?
I don't know if he directly said that, but yes,
well,
that's what he's
he
saying.
basically mentioned something around like that, and
it's
I
kind of like towards the end of the song, when he like builds up to that dope ass punchline of Below the Heavens.
And I like how he does that, because it really makes you think about, like, who really, like, we all think that we're being controlled, at least I do sometimes, and then it kind of just makes you feel like, wait, we're being controlled because we let ourselves to be, and we need to kind of free ourselves from whatever it is.
So like the power, like, it's perspective. Everything in life is perspective, and that's a truth out there. Once you figure that out, life becomes easier, and I think he's really laying that point home. Anyway.
But I think that's interesting because, I mean, even like the album cover, like it looks like, you know, he's looking up, he's reaching out, and he's, you know, he's in like the clouds almost, like he's
below the heavens.
Yeah, he's reaching up and he's trying to get there, but he doesn't want to die to get there, I guess. Yeah. You know, so he's just trying to say, like,
I think he's trying to almost
he's trying to bring it closer to heaven.
By doing his grind, he is getting closer to heaven, as opposed to doing the things that bring the hell upon you.
Yes,
which is
true.
Definitely prevalent throughout this album. And then this song just honestly flows directly into what is on Spotify as Below the Heavens Part 2, and what on the other thing has another name. So this is our outro skit / song / thing. Blu accomplishes two things. He shouts out the entire squad, and then he also kind of contextualizes that this whole album was him taking you through his existence below the heavens, but he wants to give you something to elevate you and bring you up to the heavens for the next bit. And then it's a lot of Miguel still. Yeah. He sounds really nice, and he just kind of flows. And this is one of those ones where, I mean, the part where Blu chants for a while is okay. It's not my favorite, but once it kind of ends, it's almost like 2 minutes of just Miguel serenading you with this beautiful sounds all around, and it really is a pleasant and positive vibe to listen to, and it really is almost a refreshing close to this album. Like, you go through this darker kind of like strange experience, and it ends with just Miguel serenading you like you're in church or something, and it's a strange.
It is quite a lovely like sound to it, and I can understand that, like, probably all of the people that he's shouting out are appreciative of him doing that, but for me, like, it's just like just put it on like the cover of like your album, like thank you everybody, and then just put that instead of having to like actually say, oh, thank you to this guy, thank you to that guy. That's basically what it sounds like.
To be fair, he went, look, the Blu clearly loves the old school hip hop style.
Yes.
As we saw on Rakim and Eric B, there was a lot of parts where they did they gave the DJ the shout out part where he got to do his little scratch thingy,
and like there's like beatboxing, like actual like
Yeah, they really.
or whatever. Like I can't do
think
it.
it was. I don't
It
know
was
if
like
it was
I
so
felt like
much.
they were paying homage to it.
I feel
Honestly,
like they were trying to close out the album in a way to maybe not give you such a serious tone, right?
Yeah.
Because it's been so serious, and in that sense, yeah. And I don't, because of Miguel, I'm a little less saying it's Exile's time to shine as it was, just to give you this calm and nice experience to end on after all of that serious stuff. But I give it a 4. I mean, it was a well-produced thing.
Yeah.
It's something you can listen to. It does feel like a great extension to the other track. And it does flow. Because like you can, at the end of Below the Heavens Part 1, it almost starts to build into this one before the song actually flips over.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it is what it is. I'm not, like, it's hard to evaluate this like a proper song. It's a great outro track.
Yes. I mean, it's interesting. It's well done. It's just here's me shouting out all my friends and saying thanks, you know,
But that's like,
and like
a smaller percentage of the song.
Yeah.
yes, I know, but for me, like, anyways, but he's just saying that he's, you know, he's bringing you up into the clouds, and you know, he's bringing you closer to heaven, just with this. Anyways, I gave it a 2.5. I didn't, I like, you know, I don't really enjoy these kinds of
Jeez,
songs.
Bonnie. Jeez.
Like, it's nice. It's yeah, it's interesting.
It got a 4 on 5 for me. I mean, I thought it was really great. I thought that Exile did a great job in terms of the whole scratching and getting the samples ready to go. And Miguel, well, dude, you got a great voice. Like, that's,
Yes.
I think many ladies know who Miguel is. Just throwing it out there.
I don't.
He's also quite attractive if you take a picture of him
Take a-
and look at him.
I'll take a picture of him and I'll look at him.
Yeah, he's with J. Cole on that song. Anyway, there's one left. I am ...
Da 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 da.
Dude, I don't get it. Oh my god.
Yes, I'm. It's totally worth noting. This is a bonus track
Yes.
because man, it's goofier. It's
Yeah.
it
It's
feels-
longer.
It feels less good than the other ones. No offense to anybody involved on the project. The beat's a little strange and experimental.
It sounds like there's a Muppet singing at some point. I'm
And
not
then
really
they
sure.
keep like cutting this sample in, which converses with Blue, which is cool. But it kind of feels like he's just repeating some of the same stuff. Where like he's the best, he's the this.
This is where we find out that he's got 5 younger sisters and 6 younger brothers.
Like you get a little more taste of his reality
lot.
again. I do like lines like "I'm blue like the color my skin's gonna turn when I die" or whatever. And then about halfway through the songs, Exile gets on the mic.
Yep.
And starts going, and then they go back and forth for like 3 fucking minutes.
It's 7 minutes and 23 seconds
But like
for the entire
seriously,
thing.
it's not that it's bad. It's that they don't actually say a lot. They just kind of say some ridiculous stuff. It's almost like they're on like a more of a jokester front as
Well,
they're trying to be super serious with it.
To be fair, as a bonus track, I mean, this entire album is serious.
Yeah.
Like, as much as it's fun and positive on some tracks and stuff, it's serious. And I think it's them just kind of being like, well,
And Exile's not really a rapper.
I think
and-
I don't know if it's not this song, but we missed over a part where in one of the songs, at the end of the songs, there's like little skits that happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we missed over that, and on one of the skits, Blue basically just turns on and goes, "Fuck you, Exile. I don't like him."
you. Your beat, his beats.
Yeah,
like
I
me,
don't
but
like
he
him.
doesn't
I just like
me.
his beats. He hates me.
And
Fuck
his
him.
Yeah. So anyway, I feel like you can tell that they have a good style, and I actually really like the way they bounce off because it's like almost in some cases line for line.
Yeah.
It was clearly well put together and stuff, but it just the whole thing feels like a quality tier down from the rest of this album,
Yeah.
and it's 7 and a bit minutes, so. And it doesn't necessarily give me as much joy to listen to this as the other
And
ones.
it doesn't
but it's not bad.
transition properly. That was
Well,
my
I mean, that's
only
a bonus
thing.
track thing, so that makes sense.
Okay,
Yeah.
I just figured like Slash songs had a better transition, even if it kind of like
within this song, yeah, it
yeah,
just
like
kind of happens.
literally in the song, it, like on most Slash songs, they'll kind of fade
On a
out
Slash
one,
song,
fade
yeah.
in the other.
Because the beat's consistent. It's the same beat the whole
Yeah.
way through.
On what, a Slash song or this
No,
one?
on a Slash song of the Beetle flip.
Okay,
Every time.
right.
This
This
does
one
not
I felt
happen.
like it was just
It's
it
the same
died
beat though.
and then
So yeah, it did. It died and it came back to life with both of them. But
But it
it's
was
the same
different.
beat.
okay.
The same core samples, the same everything.
Same Muppet.
I gave it a 3.5. I think it was a well done for 7.5 minutes or whatever. It's pretty cool. but like that's its selling point. For 7.5 minutes, it's pretty cool. So it could have done without the whole part where Exile was on the track, or it could have dropped the whole first thing, or it could have split it into two or something, but this was just a lot of mediocre.
And it ends with like a line, and I'm pretty sure Saul Williams is a poet, I want to say. I didn't look it up. I should have. I'm sorry. The last quote is, "I write in red ink that turns to blue when the book closes." Yep. And that's a line from Saul Williams. And so I thought that was like interesting that
he's an American rapper, singer, songwriter, music slam poet, writer, and actor.
Poet. There you go.
I know who Saul Williams is. He's actually really good. Yeah, that makes sense. Saul Williams is cool.
So, but I like that he writes in red. It's like almost like his own blood, and then it turns to blue, which is who he is. And this is what he's giving to you, kind of. Well, so I thought it was interesting.
Actually, I can't believe I didn't think of this.
Go ahead.
Blue, the artist, is putting his blood, sweat, and tears, blood is red, on the pen and paper in his notebook.
But blood is also blue.
Well, when Blue closes his book, technically his lyrics become blue because it's him.
Sure.
Ooh, deep.
What'd you give it?
I gave this one a 3 on 5.
I gave it a 4. I thought it wasn't bad, except for the fact that it was long, and it doesn't switch. The beat's consistent. I was like, this isn't bad. It's 7 minutes of joking and having fun. I thought it was a 4. It was cool.
Anyway, for this album though, I think this is my first thoughts when I really got through this album. Because keep in mind, we did the other album yesterday, and it wasn't the best representation of this guy or these two. So when I heard this, I'm like, how the fuck have I never heard of this before? Like, this sounds like something...
I mean, obviously he's not making it for, like, radio and for big money and stuff like that, but...
Like, talking underground circuits and stuff and all the other people talkings and whatnot, like, this sounds like something that should have been, like, a lot more famous than it is. This
maybe it is, and we just don't know it.
Maybe he didn't, like, network it properly.
I don't know. Like, maybe it really is marketing or something, but I'm surprised at how little I've heard of it. I mean, I'm not surprised it got so many comments now in requests for it. I give this album a 4.33. I think it's fucking a classic. It is definitely a modern, lyrical, magical experience. I can see how you can listen to this in 20 years and it still makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's good like that.
And in general, yeah, it's good. I'm really happy we ended up doing this one. I was a little skeptical after yesterday's review.
Overall, I gave this one a 3.75. So for me, it's not quite like a classic, but I do think it's worth a listen. And I do think it's like the kind of music that you can put on while driving or, like while, doing something maybe that's a little bit distracting, but that you still get a little bit of like the sound and the feel and like you catch some of the lyrics and stuff like that because it is pretty interesting. But to like actually go and sit down and listen to it, I don't think that I would be doing that again.
But it's worth it when you meditate on it.
It is.
This album got a 3.9 on 5 for me.
Nice.
I guess it's not a classic the way we deem it, but I think it still is a classic. I just think that my mark is based on the fact that I don't like the style. I don't have anything bad to say about the album, honestly. I think it's great. I think it was produced well. I think that Blue is very talented on what he does. I'm just not really into that style.
The soul.
I like the lyrics. I like the conscientious rap, but I don't know. I guess yeah, you're right. Like you're saying, the soul feel is a little bit offset for me. So,
Quavo. On that note, thank you for watching, everyone. I appreciate it because without you, this is pointless. We are looking forward to your comments.
Down below, you already know.
See what you think. Feel free to holla at us. You can find our contact information in the description.
Should we dress up for Halloween? We're not sure.
We're not. We don't want because this is the show where it comes out on Halloween. If it's important to you and you've watched this much, tell me what I should dress up as, and if it costs no money, I'll accommodate.
Let me and Holden know what we should dress up as.
I'm not rich, so don't give me no real costume ideas here. Anyway, smash that subscribe button if you're into Jake Paul.
Smash it.
One time it's click, now it's smash it. We just gotta like pick one
Punch
eventually.
it.
It's a Jake Pauler type moment, so smash the subscribe. Anyway,
I get you.
I liked the video if you thought it was fun. dislike it if you didn't, I guess. I don't know how that
Hey,
is.
if you think your friends will make fun of us, feel free to share as well.
If you happen to have stumbled across us because you wanted to see what these honkies is about and you're doing your thing, we know what you're doing. Continue puffing and watch the next video. Have a great
All
day.
right, bye.